Wow, this is great. People are still sitting down. Okay, I'm just going to start. I'd like to welcome you all to Women and Children First, and thank you for coming tonight. We're very excited to have Esme Raji Kodel with us, as well as C-SPAN. This is a first in story history. We're not sure yet when this is going to broadcast, but if you'd like to know, they left a number at the front desk that you can call. Before I introduce Esme, I just want to mention two things. One is that the dates of our store sale, which were posted on the flyer that some of you might have received about this event, have been changed. The store sale is now going to be the last week in July. Everything in the store is 20% off, so you don't want to miss that. Also, this Tuesday night, May 25th, Helen Fisher is going to be here with her book, The First Sex. That's going to be at 7:30. Yes. There's a lot more coming up in June, so please feel free to take a schedule on your way out, or you can sign up to be on our mailing list at the front desk. We're so excited to have Esme Raji Kodel with us tonight to read from her book, Educating Esme, The Diary of a Teacher's First Year. It's the account, a very vivid account, of the first year of a very young teacher with an incredible sense of humor and boundless creativity and a seemingly infinite patience. I sort of see it as Esme battling the forces of darkness, which I was kind of inspired by these Star Wars motif, as you can see. If this sounds like an overstatement, those of you that have survived your first year of teaching know that it's really not. She has to contend with an odious principal who constantly undermines her position at the school. She has to deal with the pressures that plague inner city schools, as well as the volatile family situations of her students. And ultimately, she prevails and instills in her students a love of books and the joy that they bring us. In fact, we have a display of her books out front, so please take a look at those on your way out. I can also attest that the book is a page-turner, because when I was reading it on the train, I was so absorbed that I actually almost missed my stop and had to sort of shove people out of the way and leap off the train. Whether you're a teacher or not, I urge you to read the book. It's just a delight, and I can't wait to hear it in her own words. So please welcome Madam Esme Raji Kodel.
Thank you. Can you hear that okay? Woo. Okay, as I was so kindly introduced, my name is Esme Raji Kodel, and I am a teacher in the Chicago Public Elementary Schools. I remember very clearly what my professors of education told me time and time again, that nothing I could do would ever fully prepare me for what I would experience in the classroom, which was a lie. In college, we learn many ways that we can impact or change the lives of children, but I think the missing piece in teacher education programs is how students can change the lives of their teachers. This is the piece that I hope to give future pedagogues by way of my diary. It was a real diary, it is a real diary, and it was scrawled out not so much to talk about education as to vent the power struggles I was experiencing in my first year of teaching, such as man versus woman, poor versus rich, black versus white, child versus adult, and especially boss versus underling. I spoke as honestly as I could about the amazing and troublesome things I saw, but I shoved that the stories I saw unfurling in front of my eyes in the back of a bureau drawer because that's where I thought they belonged. So much of what a teacher experiences is a secret life, a life that's only seen in front of the eyes of children who sometimes forget. One of the ways that a beginning teacher can combat this kind of isolation is to have a mentor. My original mentor when I was training to be a teacher was a woman. She was an old Greek woman who pulled children's ears and screamed at them, and I thought she was just marvelous. And she taught me the basics, which I catalog in my diary, such as ignoring bad behavior as long as you can stand it, maintaining quiet lines, how a soft voice can be more effective than a loud voice, starting out with positive comments to parents before lowering the boom, and waiting very patiently for children to answer questions. Unfortunately, my mentor, Ismini, died before I had my first classroom, which I thought was extremely inconsiderate of her. When she was on her deathbed, though, she called me over to her. I don't want to use this thing. She called me over to her, and she whispered, "Esme, the children did this to me. When you graduate, whatever you do, don't be a teacher. Be an actress instead." But I needed the health insurance. So I took her advice in part, and I chose performers as makeshift mentors. I have a picture of one of my mentors here. It's Ann Miller, who was a famous tap dancer from the 1940s, and she performed in Kiss Me Kate. And every morning, I had this hanging up inside my coat room, and every morning before the children entered, this is when you guys were at my school too, I would look at this picture and I would try to imitate it. Let's see. And in that way, I knew I would be greeting the children with a smile. My other mentor was Cyril Richard, who played Captain Hook opposite Mary Martin's Peter Pan. And it was very important to me to have a kind of a villain as a mentor, because in that way I learned that you can play the bad guy and still get rave reviews. Because so much of being a first-year teacher is learning how not to be liked. And another, I would have to say, mentor of mine was Tina Turner. And the reason for this was every time I would come home, stop laughing you guys, every time I would come home from school, I would listen to Tina Turner's records, and I would pretend that I was Tina, and the beginning of Proud Mary was my way of talking back to my principal, who I referred to as Ike. And I would love to do Proud Mary. I'd go, "You know, every now and then I think you'd like to hear something from us teachers that's nice and easy. But there's just one thing, you see. We never, ever do nothing nice and easy. We teachers always do it nice and rough." I've taken my diary out of its secret hiding place so that it might serve as support for other teachers, anecdoting ideas and theories in action, hopefully giving a modern, viable picture of urban education, but one that still encourages, don't be an actress, be a teacher instead. In equal part, it was my hope that this book would be read by anyone who's ever thought that a teacher's day ends at 3 o'clock, or that all students really need is a friend. And this includes a lot of the media, sorry guys, and those climbing the corporate ladder, all those who are in a busy rat race with a high-paying job who think that education is some sentimental cakewalk. This book is for you. I'm going to share a few passages from my diary, sort of in the form of things you wanted to know about teaching as a first-year teacher, but were afraid to ask. But before I do, I think I should start with a letter that was written by one of my former fifth-grade students, a letter she had written as a warning to anyone entering my classroom. Dear fifth-grade beginners, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that going to the fifth grade is going to be fun and not hard. Well, I got something to tell you. You got to know everything. You got to know your division, your multiplication tables, how to do the Dewey Decimal System. And most of all, you need to know how to pay attention to the stories she tell, because she would test you. There are a lot of books you have read this year, like The Mask of the Dancing Princess by Judith G. Brown, The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes, Greek Myths, Helen Keller, The Bat Poet by Randall Jarrell, and you'll find out the rest when you get here. You cannot say shut up, and you must follow the golden rule, and you cannot talk back to the teacher, and you must not ever do anything she doesn't say, and I think that's enough to let you know about the 5th grade life. Ta-ta! September 18th. Setting up my classroom at long last was very exciting. I had to arrange the chairs. I noticed other teachers arranging the desks so children would be sitting in cooperative, small groups. I kept thinking that that was politically correct. I should do it like that. But somehow it took all the romance out of the first day of school, when you're supposed to feel very formal and alien, a day when your thoughts are very new and personal. So I decided to be more traditional and put the desks in rows. Besides, I want to seem really mean for a while. I bought black pointy lace-up boots like a witch to wear for the first day to add to the dramatic effect. There's a spelling center with spelling games, a typewriter, an electric wiggle pen, a box of cornmeal and sponge letters with tempera paint for the kids to practice their spelling words. There's also an art center with bins of new, juicy markers, craft books, and real art books with pictures of naked people, and goodies such as glitter, old wrapping paper, and colored glues. My pièce de résistance is my 3D papier-mâché poster with 5 multi-ethnic kids' heads sticking out that says, "Welcome to Cool School." One of the kids is wearing a real pair of purple sunglasses. I like the girl with steel wool red hair. I had to make the kids' heads out of wire first. It took a lot of work to make, but it is gorgeous if I do say so myself. If I were a kid and saw this, I would just die. The older teachers shook their heads and told me my room looked overstimulating, which means they are totally jealous because I have the most insanely beautiful classroom ever of all time. Oh God, I have beautiful portraits of explorers over the chalkboard. The cloakroom has a cutout panorama of an international open-air market, and there's a learning center with flags of all nations. I'm sorry, this room is so fun, it's sickening. I feel sorry for any kid who is not in this room. So, first day. Of the 30-some kids, all the kids were black except for about 5 Mexican kids and 1 girl from Pakistan. I looked them over and thought, this is my destiny, to have this group of children before me. As they were growing, aging to be 5th graders, I was training, and now we meet in this unique place and time. The moment felt holy. I gave them my speech about how mean I was and how I've taught football players and cowboys and dinosaurs and Martians, so a few 5th graders aren't too challenging, but I need the money, so I'd give it a shot. I told them that they were going to work harder than they ever have in their whole life, so if they want extra credit, they should get a head start on sweating. I told them if they didn't have their supplies by Monday, they already will have earned a check on their report card for preparedness. I showed them my 1 golden rule, treat others the way you would like to be treated, written out in gold glitter. The most important part I felt of my teaching that year and any year was reading aloud to the children. When I read aloud, I feel like I'm telling 2 stories. I'm telling the story that the author intended to tell, and then I'm telling a love story between myself and the book, which is why I always encourage first-year teachers to read something before they share it with the class, so that they can tell that second story. This entry is one of my earlier read-aloud experiences. September 27th. After lunch each day, I read aloud to them. We push the desks out of the way and turn off all the lights, except for an antique Victorian desk lamp I have. It's a very cozy time. I was reading them The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes, about a Polish immigrant girl who's so poor she wears the same dress to school every day, but insists she has 100 dresses lined up in her closet. The girls tease her mercilessly until she moves away. Her antagonists discover she really did have 100 dresses, 100 beautiful drawings of dresses. Well, everything was quiet at the end, but then Ashworth asked if he could whisper something in my ear. He whispered, "I have to tell the class something," and discreetly showed me he was missing half of a finger. It was a very macabre moment, but I didn't flinch. I faced him toward the class and put my hands on his shoulders. He was trembling terribly. Ashworth has something personal he would like to share with you. I hope you'll keep in mind the 100 dresses when he tells you. I only have 9.5 fingers, he choked. Please don't tease me about it. He held up his hands. Ooh, the class hummed, impressed, then was silent as Ashworth shifted on his feet. Finally, Billy called out, I'll kick the ass of anyone who makes fun of you. Yeah, me too, said Kirk. Yeah, Ash, you just tell us if anyone from another class mess with you, we'll beat their ass up and down. Yeah, yeah, yeah! The class became united in the spirit of ass-kicking. Ashworth sighed and smiled at me. The power of literature. Thank you. I'm not done, folks. I hope all of you have wonderful administrators who are teaching today. I did not. November 10th. I have asked you to refrain from having the children address you as Madame Esme. If you would like for the children to refer to you by your first name with the more acceptable title of Ms., Mrs., or Miss, I have no objection. I hope in the near future you will honor my request. I look at the memo with some amusement. The children call me Madame Esme. There's no good reason for that title. It was just a present I gave myself that first day of school, a little reward for having taken everything so seriously for so long, to have gotten from one side of the teacher's desk to the other. It's a bone of contention with my principal. In a closed-door conference in his office, Mr. Turner has told me that the name distracts from the learning process. I told him, if the children can't handle the idea that people have different names, why don't we throw in the towel right now? Mr. Turner cannot make eye contact with me. I know you think it's the name of someone who runs a whorehouse, I say cheerfully. But there are other meanings. Madame Montessori, for instance, was not a whore, as far as I know. Well, I have the children's best interests at heart. Really, from where I sit, I don't think this has to do with the children at all. This is just a power trip. This whole thing's stupid. It's not about Madame. It's about you telling me to do something for no reason and me doing it. You just want to see me pucker up. I'll have you written up, he barks. Stands up, sits down, stands up, points upward to the imaginary heavenly bureaucrat to whom he plans to send his complaint. This is going to go on your permanent record. Is that the same record upon which my 7th grade misbehavior in gym is documented? I feign concern. I've received legal consultation. If you refer to yourself as Madame again, I'm warning you I'll pursue a court case. Really? Well, when I called the ACLU, they seemed to think you're the silly one. ACLU. His eyebrows dropped fearfully. Is that the teachers' union? You didn't call the teachers' union, did you? January 6th, the time machine. Really, an old refrigerator box covered with aluminum foil with a flashing police car light rigged at the top and various knobs and keyboards screwed and glue-gunned on. Inside, a comfortable pillow for sitting and a flashlight attached to a curly phone cord. Maya helped me install a bookshelf inside the box with a power drill. She was such a quiet, good girl, the kind present teachers send to fetch coffee and future husbands will send to fetch beer. I left the machine in the classroom, buckled and locked closed with lots of signs all over it. Top secret, under construction, no peeking, this means you, danger, highly radioactive, and the like, to build anticipation. The question buzzing, is it real? Does it really work? A tricky question. I recollect clamoring over laundry bags in the back of my parents' closet, eyes clamped closed, one hand groping, praying that I might enter C.S. Lewis's Narnia. Or, moving forward delicately, eyes closed once again, toward the mirror in our dining room, in the hopes I might go through like Alice managed in Through the Looking Glass. Alas, my head bumped the back of the closet, my fingers could not penetrate the glass. This did not negate that such adventures were possible, only that I was not among the lucky ones to be so enchanted. Yes, it really works, I offered, acting slightly perturbed that they would ever doubt me. In the weeks before winter break, children from other classrooms have popped in to deliver messages or borrow things, and they stare bug-eyed. Is it real? Does it really work? Yes, of course, the children sniffed, now annoyed at the skepticism. Then, the next biggest question. Who would be the first daring hero to risk his or her life in the contraption? In the interest of fairness, this seemed best left to chance, even at the risk some terrible realist like Bibi was chosen, who I imagine would announce, "It's nothing but a box full of books. It's a fake." It turned out that Jo Ellen was chosen. We sent her off with much fanfare, with me pressing buttons and turning knobs feverishly, double-checking for accuracy that the medieval period was properly set, making her promise her mother would not sue me should something unexpected occur. Like what? Asked Jo Ellen. Being eaten, I ventured. Oh, the class crooned enviously. Yes, I hear that dragons possibly existed, I began, though people may have believed that due to the inexplicable presence of dinosaur remnants found during the period. Still, if you'd rather give up your spot, I'll risk it, Jo Ellen said quickly. You're on school time, I reminded her. In the event you return in one piece, I expect a full report on what you saw. In she went. On went the police car light. Back to work. Silent reading time. In a half hour, I retrieved her. She came out, breathless. What did you see? Everyone wanted to know. Jo Ellen paused. For thought, for effect, I'll never know. A joust. A what? Two guys fighting on horses, their armor clanging as they rode. Even the horses wore armor on their heads. The guys carried two big sticks. Everyone was watching and cheering like a sport. One of the guys died, ran through with a stick. The class was impressed. Write it in your journal before you forget, I suggested. Who's next? For the rest of the day, the kids took turns in the time machine. So far, nobody has said it's just a box full of books. After school, I shut the lights to leave and saw the machine with its red light still carouseling around. Their armor clanging as they rode, I remembered. The words, the detail, seemed peculiar to what Jo Ellen regularly produces. I couldn't help squinting suspiciously at the silver box before turning it off. January 12th. Billy Williams is just out of control. He stands up behind his desk. "You always giving us homework. You ain't never give us no free time in class. I hate you," he roars. "I'm sorry that you're angry, but I love you and I won't allow you to fail." I mostly say this because I know it drives him crazy. Dang, you're always saying you love us. Well, your love mean nothing to me, woman. You think it's so hard to be on your side of the desk, I told Billy, but you sure make it hard from where I stand. I'm sick of it. How about you teach tomorrow? The class went up for grabs. Shit, that's your job. I ain't doing it. I put up my thumb, a signal for attention. All was quiet. Here's the deal. Teach tomorrow or be suspended for swearing, arguing, and not doing your work. Take your pick. Or rather, pick which one your mother would prefer when I call her tonight. Billy looked like he would kill me. January 13th. I got a hold of the intercom. The morning bell had rung. Would Mr. Williams please pick up his students? The class waited outside, delighted, in a perfect line. Billy was hiding in the boys' room. I waited for him. Finally, he emerged. You really gonna make me do this? Just for a day? All day? You're crazy. No, I'm Billy. I took off his jacket and headphones and put them on. He's as big as me, so they fit. I put one of my boyfriend Jim's ties around his neck. Got any gum, brother man? He didn't think my imitation was funny. The rest of the class did. Billy tried to take attendance. There's some boys still hanging out in the coat room, I heard Selena point out. I was having fun in there, hanging out with Bibi and Kirk. Come out of there, Billy stuck his head in. How I'm supposed to take attendance? Damn! Bibi and Kirk, realizing the consequences Billy would deliver after school should they not cooperate, reluctantly went to their seats. I moseyed. Come on, or I'll give you 5 dictionary definitions to copy, he warned me. Dang, man, don't have a baby. I'll get there when I get there. If that ain't good enough for you, ain't that too bad? Billy maintained his character, looking slightly saddened, but ignored me. He got everybody lined up for art in the room across the hall. He let them enter, then proceeded himself. I stopped him. Where do you think you're going? You have lesson plans to prepare. Lucky for you, it's a double period. We went to the teacher's lounge. I brought books with various science experiments in them. He finally decided on paper airplanes. He had to choose which pages to make handouts from. He ran the copy machine and he took notes for background knowledge. Billy picked up the class and took them to the washroom. By now, the novelty of the situation was on the wane, and the children were in full form. Two girls started smacking each other. "Cut it out," Billy broke it up. They went back at it. "Don't make me suspend y'all." "You can't suspend us, Billy Williams." "That's Madame Billy Williams." "And I believe I can." Walking back, I followed about 6 feet behind the rest of the class, like Billy does. "Come on, Your Highness," Billy imitated. Dang, you're always ragging on me," I railed. 5 definitions. "You hate me," I clenched my fist. "You hate me 'cause I'm black." "I love you," he retorted. "But I don't always love the choices that you make." When we returned to the classroom, Billy added a letter W to the HOME that was already spelled out on the board from yesterday. If it spells homework on Friday, that's what they get. The kids howled. "That's for fighting and arguing in the hall. Y'all know better." The kids continued to complain noisily. "Next time you'll make a better choice." I had to hand it to him. "Now, Mr. Williams and elephants never forget," he sing-songed using one of my pet phrases. "Social studies test." "Oh," the kids complained, none louder than me. "We ain't got to do what the teacher says. He ain't the boss of us." I tried to incite mutiny, as Billy does whenever a test is mentioned. "He ain't said nothing about no test." Says here on the board, T-E-S-T, which I believe spells test, and T-H-U-R-S-D-A-Y, which I believe spells today. So get out your pencils, which should already be as sharp as I know your answers will be. I nearly fainted. For a kid who doesn't do what I say, he sure hears what I say. I let Mr. Williams off the hook at the last period of the day, assigning a composition the day Billy Williams was our teacher. I wrote a composition during the period, too, the day Madam Esme was Billy Williams. At the end of the day, I read it to the class about how I had forgotten how hard it is not to chew gum, how uncomfortable the seats were, what a pain it is to have to go to the washroom with the class when you don't even have to go, how scary it is when you forget to study, how easy it is to feel stupid, even if you're smart. I let Billy have my composition, and he took the rest of them home to grade. After school, I complimented Billy on a job well done, and that I thought he would be a fine teacher someday if that's what he chose. "Ain't choosing it," he grumbled, smiling. "Too hard." I gave Billy my old harmonica from when I was 11 and told him I'd teach him to play it if he still wanted me for a teacher. By February, my administration still hadn't gone away. February 12th. Draggy things this week. Mr. Turner, looking at my breasts, takes all the joy out of wearing a leotard. Proceeded to ask me to do a school-wide promotion of milk. March 6th. The children did good visual and oral reports about different vertebrae. Melanie did her report about the rat. In the center, she had glued on specimens clearly labeled rat poo droppings. Her presentation, though not particularly scholarly, was definitely pragmatic. "Take care to tuck in the sides of your blankets. They'll climb up on your bed. It's really awful." I read them The Pudding Like the Night on the Sea from the stories Julian tells by Anne Cameron, in which a father threatens his sons with a whipping and a beating, only to have them whip cream and beat eggs to make a pudding for their mother. I used different voices for the different characters. They loved it. They laughed so hard, some of them were wheezing to catch their breath. I laughed too. It felt so good. I thought, this is what it's all been for, this moment of having my own classroom and laughing together. Thank you for laughing with me. I'm here, I guess, to take questions, comments, careful criticism and listen to you tattle. Any questions? Yes.
Well, what year is this now of teaching?
I am in my 5th year of teaching now. I'm on travel leave from my school. And I'm working now as a school librarian, the best job in the school. I'm very good at waiting patiently for questions, so. Oh, yes?
How did you decide to keep a journal of your teaching? What made you do that?
I had been keeping diaries since I was 7 years old, but at my family's request, I am publishing none of them. But this particular one, I really felt a need to share. In Chicago, there was something called academic probation, in which a lot of teachers were investigated when they had low standardized test scores. And some of these teachers lost their jobs. And not to say these teachers were good or bad, but when I looked to the media, I saw no teacher perspectives. All I saw were administrators talking or public figures talking. And I started noticing that trend throughout media. And that's when I thought, even though it was hard, and even though in the diary I don't always come off as lovely as I would like to, I felt it was important people saw what happened behind my closed door. And I hope that it's a kind of a battle cry for other teachers to make known what's happening in their classrooms. I think a lot of what happens in a classroom is anecdotal, and a lot of what happens to women is anecdotal and undermined. And I think that our anecdotes will be made important when we yell them very loudly. Yes?
Will there be a sequel?
This question is asked by someone who teaches at the same school I am presently teaching at. No, there will not be. Yes. No, there will not be a sequel that I will write. Perhaps one that you will write.
What's been the reaction of your coworkers, former coworkers?
Well, most of them are here tonight, so that's a good sign. It's been good. It has not been, I think, as wonderful for the administration as it has been for the teachers, but I figure they can write their own book if they have a different point of view. Anything else? Oh, hi.
What about your students? What's their response?
Come on, Claire. Their response to my book?
Yeah, do they know your stories, or?
I didn't really share my stories with them because there was a lot of swearing involved. But I hope that they like it. Any comments, criticism? This is your big chance to grade the teacher, guys.
What does she like as a teacher?
I don't like this line of questioning. Yes?
Why do you, I'm sure you thought about this, but why do you think there's such a battle between the administration and the teachers? What is it that causes that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I have no idea, since obviously teachers are way smarter. But no, present principal accepted, of course. I think a lot of it is about empowerment and feelings of empowerment. I think that there's a real difference in many cases between gender in the administration and in the classroom. I think that has to do with it. A lot of power struggles that are pretty age-old are being played out. They were in my first year of teaching, I felt. I also think it's just about people feeling that they're expert. I think that there are many administrators, I'm sure, who are terrific, and many administrators who are underqualified. Administrators don't have to be teachers and don't have to be master teachers to judge teachers and decide what techniques teachers are going to use. I think it's very important that teachers start voicing what's effective for them. Teacher empowerment is going to be a huge issue, I think, in the next century, especially when we're thinking about how to attract teachers to the classroom. We're under a lot of physical stress, a lot of physical threat in the classroom, and if you don't even give teachers the right to decide how to deal with the conflicts they're having, no one in their right mind will go into it. I think charter schools are an interesting trend, I think what's going on with school choice is interesting to think about, but there will always be public schools, and I hope that these other avenues aren't ways of avoiding, of dealing with the issues of how to make great public schools, because there are great teachers there. Yeah.
I really appreciated your wonderful humor. Thank you. And I'm just curious, being a journal writer myself, and not nearly as humorous as you are in my journals, I wonder, do you write on your first take, on your first entries, are you writing with that humor, or when you wrote the book, did you have time to reflect on your journal accounts and then put in
No,
something?
I didn't have time to reflect, and my the diary that's been published is pretty much true to the original form that it was written in, except my editor took out a lot of exclamation points, I noticed. It's pretty true to form.
That's great.
Yeah, well, it's funny if you're not in it, you know.
I walked in a couple minutes late. If you didn't already cover it, could you talk about the school you teach, where it's at, etc.?
No, I can't. I really can't. I teach in the Chicago public schools, and I've been advised to say nothing much more than that. Sorry. Any further questions? Elise?
I just think you're wonderful. I think the book is fabulous, and it was great, and it's true.
Yeah, you were
true.
across the hall.
That's true.
Thank you. I called on the right person. Yes?
I was wondering, do you intend to go back to the classroom and stay in the classroom for the remainder of your career, or what else do you plan to do?
Probably not for the remainder of my career. And I've actually received a lot of criticism for that answer, because that's been asked before. And my feeling is this. I think being a teacher is a wonderful and important job, but I also feel that teachers are in the classroom to be teachers and not to be martyrs. And until there are pay raises and until classroom environments are made safe for teachers to come to school, I don't think systems necessarily deserve great teachers. And so I feel that I will be in the system as long as the system can have me. Isn't that mean? Think further? Yes.
One of the things I liked about your book is that it says that kids can change, and that you can have problems in the classroom with your students, and you can try things that will work, and they can change. But what you ran up against with your principal and some of the more entrenched members of the staff there was that they wouldn't change. And no matter what approach you tried with them, they weren't going to change, and that was that. And I think that's why teachers feel so continually frustrated, because on the one hand, they have these students who are malleable, who do respond to, you know, honest effort on a teacher's part, and then you're blocked on the other end and can't get any effective communication going with administrators who don't support you. And I think, you know, without telling us that in so many words, the book really shows that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I went into teaching, I think, not so much because I love children. I don't specially love all children. I went in because I love change, and that's the one thing you can count on children to do. And I think an environment of risk-taking is very crucial to implement that kind of change and to facilitate it. And that's where administration can be very helpful in supporting teachers in their risks and explaining to parents why this is good, even if it's not on the list of things to be covered for a standardized test.
First of all, I wish my 10-year-old had you for a teacher.
Oh, thank you.
And secondly, when you spoke of empowerment for educators, which I think is crucial, you spoke of things that could be done from the outside. What can be done from the inside out in terms of teachers? It's such an isolated profession, and that you're there with your students. And how would you go about empowering teachers, you know, from the inside?
Well, I know what I was isolated as a teacher, and in many ways still felt isolated very recently. What worked for me was journaling. What worked for me was mentoring within the schools. I think also the internet provides a wonderful opportunity for mentoring in case you are stuck in a situation where there are people you really can't look up to, like there's TeachersNet on the internet where you can find that kind of help. I think reading, it's very difficult to address this issue, but I think time is very important, time within the school day for teachers to communicate with each other. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah.
I was wondering if you had received, like, you know, since the government's always saying, you know, Chicago public school system is so bad, if you, like, received any feedback, like anybody in the government, I read your book, and I think they should if anybody in the government is listening.
Yeah, anybody in the government. I'm sure they've started a file on me, but so far they haven't responded to the book. A lot of politicians have received the book and have not responded because there's a lot of public relations work done in the Chicago public schools that they'd prefer I probably didn't muss up too much, and so I haven't really heard. Yeah.
I got to know you through WBEZ, and that's why I'm here tonight. And one of the stories I remember that they recorded was BB and his mother.
Yeah.
And how teachers are expected to be mothers, and how you resented that. And if you could address the parents of the children in your class, what advice would you give them?
You know, when I wrote this book, it was a diary, and I would like to say, before I answer the question, that some of my feelings about the role of mother in the classroom has changed somewhat since I've had my own child, which is, I realized, I came to appreciate much more that a child is somebody's diamond, something very precious. And when they're not somebody else's diamond, they sure as hell better be your diamond, or else they're nobody's diamond. So I would say, in my own teaching technique, I didn't give a whole lot of thought to parents, because sometimes they weren't there. And whether they were there or not, I still had the same job to do. Advice to parents in terms of the school is ask the teacher how you can help. Don't impose your idea of how you can help in the classroom. If you have inquiries about your child and clear goals for your child, that's a wonderful thing to communicate. But I'm really tired of spending time talking about the difference between a B and an A, or a C and a B. That's a waste of time and energy. We need to talk about the whole child and what we want for them, and not about numbers.
From the dialogue from the diary, it sounded like a lot of your students were African American,
Yes.
Mexican American, Hispanic American. If you dealt with the issue of race and racism, how do you deal with that in your book, and what do you have to say about race and racism?
Well, I have a few things to say about that. First of all, I think one of the misconceptions that I lost as a first-year teacher, well, when I went in, I thought that Brown versus Board of Education was an American reality. And as I began to teach, I realized it's still part of the American dream. And it's something that needs to be worked towards every day. We're not a fully desegregated society. And I thought that going in. In the classroom, I didn't address race all that directly, except through literature. I think literature-based teaching can do a lot to develop students' self-esteem and self-awareness and appreciation for other people's cultures. And that was really the way that I addressed race in the classroom.
Aside from the whole teaching focus, I mean, you seem to be so creative in your classroom.
where do you get your inspiration to continue that, feed that creativity?
Well, from my husband, who does a lot of creative work, and also I am very heavily influenced by MGM musicals. You think I'm joking. Yeah, that's where I continually get a lot of ideas. Yeah.
How are you creative as a school librarian? Do you do story time or?
I forgot. I do tons and tons and tons of read aloud. We do a lot of author studies, a lot of picture book work. One of my favorite lessons, for example, is we read Miss Rumphius with the middle intermediate children, which is a picture book by Barbara Cooney in which a woman plants a lot of blue flowers. And I brought in bouquets and bouquets and bouquets of lupines and blue flowers, and we painted paper plates, just covered everything with painted blue flowers. You guys remember this? I did a lot of screaming. Make sure you don't drip all over the table. Remember that? I try to integrate the curriculum as much as possible. I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of times people say, you went into the library, don't you miss being a teacher? Well, I still feel I get to do everything I ever did as a classroom teacher, except I don't have to worry about people thinking my program's important. And people, I'm serious, that no one bothers me about standardized test scores. Nobody knows whether I'm grading papers or not. I grade tons of papers. I do lots of reports and creative writing. But I don't feel the pressure that classroom teachers feel that somebody's looking over their shoulder because they think, oh, it's just an extra period. It's a prep period. I'm so glad when they think that, because it frees me up to be a wild woman. It's good.
When did you get into the library? Was this some sort of administrative retribution or something?
Oh, no. I wanted to be a librarian. Even through my first year of teaching, I began to realize that's what I wanted to do, because that's where I could get the most read aloud in. And I saw a special void with intermediate and upper grade children that they were not being read aloud to. And by moving into the library, I could ensure that they get that in their day. Anyone else? Well, I want to thank you all so much for coming tonight.
Nice to see you. My husband heard you on WBC. He ordered the program, and we have listened to it in the car since last summer. We are such a fan.
Thank you so much for doing that. So nice.
We are such fans, so.
I'm so glad that you do like it.
Well, I've got a couple teacher friends, too.
That's very thoughtful. Who shall I make these out to?
To Christine with a K.
Is this a teacher?
No, that's me.
You're Christine.
Mm-hmm. And David. And the other ones you can just sign.
Christine, K-R-S.
K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A.
And David.
And David. And if you don't mind adding Carrie, and Carrie,
Thank you so much for coming. That's exciting. Oh no, I didn't. Let me do that. Thank you. Do you have my wrap? I have it. I have a website.
Oh, yes. Let us know where it is.
Great.
Well, I hope you saw a million books.
Well, me and you both. And who is this one for?
Just sign your name, and I'll get on.
Would you like the date, or just the name?
Because I know a lot of people are waiting.
Oh, don't be considerate. You waited as long as that. I'll check these in as well. Thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming tonight.
Too.
Wonderful. Wow. What do you teach in high school?
English and reading.
In Chicago?
Yeah. Yeah. And your description of your administrator sounds like some of my early administrators.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Now I have a wonderful, wonderful friend.
Doesn't it help? When just get them getting out of your way is a big help.
Well, I have a principal who has never forgotten what it's like to be a teacher.
But I think it makes a difference when a principal is a
makes a huge
teacher.
difference.
And
But
what
she's
is your
also a
name?
woman, too. Sandy.
With a Y at the end? It was so nice of you to come this evening. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it.
It's nice to meet you.
Hi.
Did you actually buy one?
Yes,
Miss
I bought
Baderman?
I bought another one. I gave mine to my student teacher who hasn't given it back. But I want
This
another
one for you?
anyway. Yes, of course.
Am I right to like the queen of teaching?
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, here's what I write. The queen of teaching.
Is that a flaming queen? You were wonderful and terrific, and I knew you would be.
Thank you, Shelley.
You're always welcome.
Do you have my website?
Yes.
Good. Did I tuck it in automatically?
Yes.
Hello, young lady. I was giggling as I was reading before you started to talk. It's wonderful.
I'm so glad.
Wow, yes. When he had the baby, we had a farewell bingo over the weekend. You were just...
You gonna carry it?
Gosh, she looks like it's going to be a flavorful thing.
Just try that.
I'm sorry. Blocking us, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Post-it notes, because there are some people I know, and I don't remember their names.
Kimberly would have been here. She got a tummy ache and just could not. I said, honey, I can't take it. See you so much.
I'll be at the school.
Okay, you will. I said,
I'm sure you will. It's so nice of you to come.
hope you do something.
Come here. Get on TV, my dear. I don't want to be on TV. You know that. Sue, having you in the audience made it so much better. I just thought of you at a teacher's meeting, and I was able to say what I thought.
I was complaining today. People were complaining today about the restructured day.
Complain about it all the time. More power to you. I think that education needs more people.
You should.
But those are the people that keep going. If I didn't have young people like you, Catherine, I wouldn't still be here. Because that's where the burnout comes from. Not having the people that explain the kids to never want to make any changes.
I've already got it. You got it. Oh, yeah. I just put your name on that. Who are you going to have it signed to?
You guys so much.
Yeah, more often. I'll be there all summer.
I will visit you. I'll visit you.
This is actually for a very good friend of mine's daughter who just finished her first year of teaching. So I would love to give her one.
Thank you so much for coming.
But my big question though is how do we get you back? I know. You think so? Oh, we're very hopeful every time.
Yeah, the tour is being extended, which is the only kick across the board. But other than that, we're praying. I was glad to see them, even though I was worried about swearing in front of them. Did you say she's just about to start?
She just finished her first year. I mean, she's in the end of her first year. Can't wait.
They were amazing.